Hello, my name is Kyle Lajeski, District Sales Manager with EMC, and today we're going to be spending some time talking about EMC's XtremIO. I oftentimes start this conversation with an analogy of drawing out the somewhat typical bell curve of early adopters, general adopters, and then late adopters to a new technology. If we look back 4 or 5 years ago and kind of put the backup recovery evolution on this curve, we had a fundamental objective of customers wanting to move away from tape and towards a disk. Disk was faster and more reliable, but it was also significantly more expensive. And while we had customers in the early adopter phase roll out back up to disk well before the rest, it wasn't until an innovation of uncompromised data reduction that really drove the masses to back up to disk. And we also saw a very flooded market during this 3 to 4 to 5 year transition. At one point, we had almost 30 to 50 firms vying for a market position in this purpose-built backup appliance space. We fast forward to today, where literally we have significant market adoption. There are really 2 to 3 firms left, and EMC's data domain technology holds north of 60% of the market in the purpose-built backup appliance. A significant reason for our success in the market adoption in the purpose-built backup appliance space was this uncompromised data reduction. Data domain can do backup to disk in an inline, all the time, no compromise to data services or data compression or data deduplication as I'm driving those backups to that appliance. It was ultimately that architectural differentiator, uncompromised data reduction, that led to data domain's eventual dominance in the purpose-built backup appliance market. Similarly, we see a transition here in the data center from disk to what is now flash-based media. Again, customers want to leverage flash, and we have early adopters that have deployed flash holistically across their environment. The masses are still using some combination of flash and disk or all disk in their data centers. And again, the shortcoming is cost. And there are 30 to 50 firms that are in the purpose-built flash appliance space vying for a market position here. And ultimately, similar to backup, we believe that uncompromised data reduction is going to be what wins and ultimately nets to 2 or 3 all-flash vendors and EMC likely in a market-leading position. Since our general availability announcement of XtremIO in November of 2013, EMC has quickly become the #1 market leader in the all-flash array space with over 40 petabytes shipped. So let's spend some time talking about why that is. First, I'll start with architecture or hardware and then eventually software. If you look at how XtremIO is architected, we literally see a storage processor 1 and storage processor 2. This is a fully redundant active configuration in that both controllers are actively controlling load to each of their SPs. Behind that, we have a significant amount of cache. 512 gigabytes to be specific. That is a massive cache reserve when compared to traditional all-flash array vendors or traditional mid-range storage technologies. And ultimately, on the back end, we have a number of EMLC, or Enterprise Multi-Level Cell flash drives, compared to a lot of folks in that 30 to 50 crowded market of the all-flash space who are using consumer-grade single-level cell flash. And these come in flavors of 10 terabytes or 20 terabytes. The other differentiator outside of the active significant cache and enterprise multi-level cell is the fact that our systems will scale out. In that once I start a cluster with a single brick, I can quickly cluster multiple bricks together. And every time I add additional bricks, I pick up CPU, I pick up memory, and I pick up capacity. And I can continue to drive this scale-out model for my all-flash array in XtremIO, allowing you linear scale of both performance, capacity, compute, network, memory, etc. Now, although the hardware is differentiated and we have some unique ability there, I really want to spend some time talking about the software. 4 capabilities specifically. The first is XDP, or Extreme Data Protection. It's how we do data protection on XtremIO. Ultimately, we're taking the performance of RAID 10, the efficiency of RAID 5, and the reliability of RAID 6, and building it into an algorithm that is natively inherent in XtremIO. The beauty of this is it's incredibly simple, right? We literally do not have to configure the RAID. We really don't have traditional LUN configuration. We don't have tiering. There really isn't a notion of pools. And XtremIO is natively thin provisioned. Okay. Beyond that, when we talk about uncompromised data reduction, that comes in a few different forms, right? The first is ultimately XDP, where out of the gate, we are seeing raw to usable ratios north of 75%. So the flash you buy is the flash you get to use. The second here is data deduplication, or the ability to take duplicate data sets and save them once. We see huge return here in VDI environments, VMware environments, etc. We see duplicate data sets. Anywhere from 5-to-1 to 10-to-1, in some cases 15-to-1 deduplication. The next capability here is compression. So of those more unique data sets that don't dedupe or don't dedupe well, we have the ability to do compression. Take SQL or Oracle databases, for example. And lastly is the ability to do writable snaps, or the ability to clone and snap the environment over and over and over again and write to those snaps for test, dev, training, etc., etc. So let's use a real-world economic example of how we start to shift this paradigm. The first is from a technical standpoint, these are uncompromised. They never shut off, right? So you can rely on predictable, scalable performance regardless of the ecosystem in which it is in. And then we look at maybe a 5 terabyte Oracle database, for example. And I could easily have another copy for test, another copy for development, another copy for training, and another copy for QA. So my 5 terabyte Oracle production database is really 20 terabytes of traditional storage. With writable snapshots, I literally get these copies for free. And I'm not limited to just 4. I could do 10, 20, etc., never taking an impact on the performance. Then we start to look at what we do with this primary 5 terabytes. And through compression, anywhere from 2-to-1 to 5-to-1, we'll use 2-to-1 to be conservative. This could easily be a 2.5 terabyte database. So what was 20 terabytes is now 2.5 terabytes. Huge economic advantage in a database environment, VMware environment, etc., etc. Literally, we see XtremIO fitting in multiple workloads and multiple use cases across the data center. Hopefully this was helpful in understanding the technical and architectural advantages, the operational simplicity, and then ultimately the financial advantages on how we start to see this paradigm shift from disk to flash, allowed market adoption through the masses with uncompromised data reduction. Thank you.